My name is Rachel Norton. I'm going to moderate for the Use Cleaner Energy panel this afternoon. I work at Mountain Association with Emily, who will be on a panel later this afternoon at 3 o'clock. I'm an energy specialist, graduated from the University of Kentucky in engineering, and also I use she, her pronouns. As far as Use Cleaner Energy, we just wanted to talk to folks about different ways that you can do that. A lot of folks think about solar and renewables. There are so many different things we can think about, including my very favorite, which is energy efficiency, which most of y'all probably know if you have met me before. But so we're just going to go, we're going to go ahead and start with David Cruz.
Thank you all for asking us to be here today. It's a great pleasure. My first time to be at Transy, and I don't understand what Bat Camp is about, because I parked when I saw Bat Camp flyers, so I'm not sure what that's about. But
I hope it's baseball.
At any rate, so if we could go to my next slide. You know, at EKPC, we kind of feel like sustainability is somewhat like climbing a ladder. And you know, the first few rungs on sustainability as far as energy goes should be spending money on energy efficiency, because you're going to get the biggest bang for your buck out of energy efficiency of all of the things that we would do in sustainability. So we have programs in this area, so if we could go to the next slide. We have a virtual energy assessment, and you go online and it asks you questions about your home or business and the insulation and, you know, things about the envelope that you have, and then it does an online and it tells you where you should put attention and money to make the envelope better around your house so that you use less energy. We have a button-up program, and that's for plugging leaks around windows, doors, and HVAC. You know, one of the places that we lose a tremendous amount of energy in HVAC is in the duct system itself. And just trying to seal up the duct system so that the air coming out of the air handling actually reaches the room that you want it to be in. And so sealing up the duct system is very important. We have a touchstone energy rebate for homes that meet a minimum qualification for insulation, window efficiency, and things of that nature. I believe it's like $2,000 if you qualify for that. So if you build your house to a certain standard, we'll give you a rebate. We have a rebate for replacing electric heat strips. In eastern Kentucky, we have a lot of residents that are still on strip heat, and there's a tremendous amount of savings associated with moving from strip heat to a heat pump, and we try to help those folks with that. With regard to CARES, we have another winterization heat pump program, and that's for low-income families. And then on Energy Star manufactured homes, again, you know, some of the manufacturers scrimp on the heating and air conditioning system, insulation, and things of that nature, and if they will build it to a certain standard, we will give a rebate on those manufactured homes. Okay, next slide, please. So we've got a green energy tariff where we try to help businesses and residential customers meet their sustainability goals. So if we go to the next slide, it's got really three areas. Option A is REC purchases for residential customers, and so a REC is a renewable energy credit, okay? And then what it is the green attributes of energy created by renewable sources like solar, wind, hydro. It's those green attributes divorced from the actual energy, so you can transport the REC or the renewable attributes without having to deliver that energy, find a path directly to where you want it to go. And that makes it a lot simpler to become green. Now the recs have to, they all have a serial number, they have to be certified, and then they have to be retired for you to actually be able to claim that you're greening up your power with a rec. Option B is renewable contracts, and we have, some of you may have heard that we're working with Diageo, which is Bullet Bourbon. They're building this facility in Lebanon. It's going to be 100% green, green electricity, and we're working on a PPA for 80 megawatts. I don't think they'll use all of it. We'll take the balance of it, and we'll be using that energy to offset the energy that they purchase. And they'll be getting all the renewable energy credits associated with that. In this space, there's this term additionality, and it's where some companies want to be able to say, we cause additional solar, wind, or renewables to be put online, and they will have caused that to be put here in Kentucky. So, and we work with them. Option C is for rec purchases for commercial industrial customers. Because commercial industrial customers use more energy, we buy more recs, and the fee that we charge for commercial industrial customers is significantly less than the fees and the administrative expenses for a residential customer. When we go out and buy a few for a residential customer, thousands upon thousands for a commercial industrial customer, there's a different administration burden on us. We try to lower the cost to the C&I customers. Okay, next slide. So we also have the Cooperative Solar Program. Next slide. So this came out of a collaborative that we did with stakeholders here in Kentucky. They wanted to have a program where people that didn't have property could participate and use solar. If you live in an apartment building, it's hard for you to have solar panels. If your lot is very wooded, hard for you to do solar panels. If you want to do that, you can purchase, this is our solar field at our headquarters in Winchester, 33,000 panels, and for $460, you can license one of these and you'll get the energy from it for 25 years. And that's a pretty good deal. And the good deal is we do all the maintenance. If anything ever goes wrong, we take care of it, and you get a credit on your bill. So next slide. So there's the 32,300, 30,400 of fixed, 1,900 trackers. The panels are somewhere between 330 and 335 watts DC per, and it was designed to be 8.5, but we've seen it go as high as 9.5 on very nice days where you get a lot of sun and it's not too hot. Our experience is that if it gets too hot, they don't perform as well as when it's a little cooler with a lot of sunshine.
I want to start off briefly just to go over Nisource and Columbia Gas and who we are. Nisource is headquartered in Maryville, Indiana. We operate in 6 states, so approximately 3.4 million natural gas customers, about 500,000 electric customers. Here in Kentucky, under the Columbia Gas brand, we're the second largest gas-only utility in the state, serving about 135,000 customers. Go to the next slide. Similar to David, we are big believers in energy efficiency. It's the best thing you can do. Best bang for your buck, really, to start off, is use energy the most efficient way possible, and then after that, start looking at other ways to conserve or switch to cleaner fuels. One very effective method is combined heat and power, or CHP units, and for a lot of businesses and industry, it's a very, very, very efficient way to cut your energy and cut your emissions. By generating electricity with natural gas, collecting the waste heat to provide space or water heat. You can move up to 80% or more efficiency, cuts your total emissions by 50% or sometimes even larger. So very beneficial. It doesn't always work for everybody. You need to have a pretty constant space heat or water heat need for it to work. But one thing that we do at Columbia is work with customers, help figure out if that is something that will work for them, and they can get engineering studies and stuff to get that done. Another thing we're doing is we're piloting a Picaro, which Picaro is a vehicle-mounted leak detection system that can identify leaks in gas pipelines much more efficiently and faster. So that's something we're piloting here in Kentucky. Methane is much more potent greenhouse gas than carbon dioxide. So if we can find the leaks faster and repair them, that's just one more way to reduce emissions and increase sustainability for the system. Go to the next slide, please. And after energy efficiency, the next best thing, you start wanting to for sustainability, replace what you're using with a cleaner fuel. On the gas system, two ways to do that are hydrogen and renewable natural gas. Natural gas is a pretty clean fuel, but it still emits carbon when you burn it. Hydrogen, green hydrogen, emits just water when you burn it, so it's a zero emission fuel. And then renewable natural gas, which is basically methane that's been captured from some other process, landfills, farms, etc. You process it and replace it with geologic gas with that. It can actually be negative carbon. So as shown on the far right of the graph, farm-based RNG can actually be like up to 300 pounds of carbon negative. It basically means so you could it can offset 5 decatherms of geologic natural gas burning 1 decatherm of RNG. So if you could replace your entire 20% of your system with RNG, you could basically decarbonize the entire natural gas system. Go to the next slide. A little more detail around RNG. There's two processes to create it. One's anaerobic digestion. The other is thermal gasification. Thermal gasification is really in the pilot and test stages, but anaerobic digestion is the way the vast majority of RNG is created right now. And it's landfills, livestock, manure, wastewater treatment plants, food waste, things like that. Go into digesters, and you process in biogas, clean it up, and you have RNG, and it's interchangeable with geologic gas on the system. Kentucky is estimated to have the potential to produce about 154 BCF of RNG a year. That's if you took all reasonably attainable feedstock and created it into RNG. And that would replace about 56% of the current gas usage in the state of Kentucky. So there's a lot of potential right here in the state. Most of that, or the vast majority of that, has not been captured yet. So there's a lot of potential to grow RNG here in the state. One thing that we're looking at is ways to help customers get RNG. In a couple of other states, we recently filed a tariff that will allow customers to opt into and purchase RNG to offset their usage and get to a net zero emissions. That's something we're considering here in Kentucky as well. We've also implemented a gas quality tariff that will ensure that RNG does get into the system and has been cleaned and processed to the point where it is safe for the system, protects our customers, their equipment, everything. Go to the next slide, please. Moving to hydrogen. Hydrogen is talked about an awful lot. It's all right, better. So hydrogen gets a lot of attention in the press these days. Most hydrogen is produced through steam methane reforming, which emits CO2. And what we want to try to move to is clean hydrogen or green. But there's a lot of, there's turquoise, pink, gold, all these different colors of hydrogen. Basically, it's hydrogen created without emitting CO2. So the two of the most promising ways to do that is electrolysis and pyrolysis. Both produce hydrogen with no CO2 emissions, so it's clean. Then when you burn it, it has no associated emissions. That can be blended into the natural gas system to offset emissions and help decarbonize the system. We currently are working on a pilot in Pennsylvania to blend hydrogen and test just how much we can blend in without impacting customers. Hydrogen is less energy dense per volume than natural gas. So if we go too high, it starts impacting customers' equipment. But we think we can get up to 20%, which would equate to a 20% decrease in emissions, providing much cleaner gas streams. So we're working on that. We've also been recently just talking to the Kentucky Energy Cabinet about hydrogen and what we could do. We're looking at what we do the next stage of our pilot here in Kentucky and blend hydrogen into our system here. We're also looking at ways to bid on some of the hydrogen hub opportunities the DOE is looking at, just for ways to further hydrogen within the state. That's all for me. Thank you.
We are in a regulated state where we are trying to meet the obligations that we've presented and are approved by the Kentucky Public Service Commission, what we can and cannot offer to our customers from a consideration. So from those lines, you'll see a lot of similarities as to what we offer our customers and what you all can do, or the communities we serve can do from across the board and take service from us, from that consideration. Next slide, please. So I'm going to start off with business rebates, something similar you heard from David. Next slide. Something on the upfront side. We offer this for our commercial and industrial customers. We have a program, our demand side management program, which allows these type customers to save energy on the improvements that they make within their complex. Same concept you heard from David. Okay, if they go in and they're installing better equipment at their site or are looking for those type of incentives, they can get those even from the electric utility for getting a subsidy built onto their bill associated to that. Next slide. We also offer something called the We Care program. Next slide for this. This one's more specific for the individual residential customers by which we're serving. Where we do, like David had kind of mentioned, go in, assist the customer out by reviewing their house capabilities, any conservation capabilities that they may have, where are the leaks in their house. How is their HVAC performing? How is the ventilation performing within it? What are the faucets even doing, the dryer connections that are going outside? You name it across the board. We're helping go through that to identify what is the individual customer's usage and where the deficiencies that they can take into consideration for improvement. We have individual groups on our team, some of which are here, I'm not going to name them out. They get into this detail more specifically. This is a no additional cost. This is to help our customers be more efficient, and they even help save the cost that they need from a billing perspective. Next slide. So, you heard David talk about this similar scenario, solar share as well as what's called our green tariff associated to this. I'll start off with the solar share program. Many of y'all get on the road in between Lexington and Louisville. You will see, once you pass Simpsonville, you will see a solar facility off to your right on the north side of the road on your way into Louisville. Similar to what David had kind of said, this is a solar share facility. It is available for any business, industrial, as well as residential customers who are qualified under the existing rate schedules where they can buy or purchase a share associated with this solar field. Now the subscription, you can sign up, hold on to it for a year, and then unsubscribe to it. Or you can sign up and pay for it on a monthly basis, or sign up and pay for it for the full terms associated that you wanted to that. So this is one optionality. Right now, it's large enough to accommodate roughly about 4 megawatts of power. There are 8 sections. We're into about section 4, I believe, in totality right now. As people are unsubscribing, we're getting those resubscriptions from new customers to take that into consideration. Next slide. So from a green tariff optionality, similar to what you heard from David of as an option A, option B, option C consideration, the first option 1 associated with it, gets you the RECs, our purchases of the retirement blocks, necessary on the customer's behalf, representing about 1,000 kWh of renewable electricity. This is available to both our residential, business, industrial customers from a consideration for when they're doing their own prospect plans. You know, the residential small commercial, you're talking about green energy, about $5 versus your industrial large commercial. From an energy perspective, it's about a $13 component. Next slide. Option 2. What if a customer wants to build a solar facility on their site, the mall? A lot of rooftop space taken into consideration. Did I install the solar? I'm not using that except for nothing but taking the rays in when I could block it with that. Or what about my barn that's sitting out back, that's holding all the whiskey that's sitting there brewing on a day-by-day basis? What can we use these type of locations for being able to meet our needs? And can I supply myself my own solar for that? I don't understand solar, is what they say. Help me do this. What can you all do, and what's the price associated for bringing somebody in to help us install something like this to meet our 100% renewable portfolio? Well, then the question comes up, what do you mean by 100%? Are you talking you want to offset your whole usage by 100%? Across 24 hours a day, even when the sun's not out? Or are you talking just across the time of the day by which the sun is actually coming out during that time? This is where under this optionality, we also, I'll have a slide on it, we have something called our LQF and our SQF, large qualified facility, small qualified facility, where any excess that a customer has on their system, if it's more than they are consuming, they can get paid back for that particular amount built into the tariff in that regard. Not just from a proponent of the energy by which is being supplied, but also based on the capacity that is being supplied. This was stipulated as part of the KPSC recent orders out of the last rate case of allowing not just an energy component payback, but also even a capacity payback to the individual customers from a consideration. Typical, the ones we go after, work with customers on, we're looking at anywhere from a 30 kW or larger, and we are usually executing some type of 25-year agreement. In those types of things, think about this. Okay, when you're getting offered the bids and looking at potential optionalities, you know, is that supplier that is building it for you also going to be there for the next 25 years? Thus, if you need maintenance on it, can they come back and fix it? Or who is going to come back and fix it? This is where, as the utilities, we start to voice the concern of, we've been here for this many years. We're obviously right around the corner, and the contract is with us from a long-term perspective for being able to continue the maintenance with you on that. Next slide. Option 3. This is the large one. The renewable power agreements. Right now, LG and EKU have about 225 megawatts of executed agreements. Solar energy. This is a supply to primarily industrial customers. Or it can be commercial if their total aggregate load is over 10 megawatts from a totality. Those executions, the first agreement that we executed was with Toyota and Dow, University of Kentucky, North American Stainless, U of L, Moores, and Dow again was in the second round that we just went through. Well, again, as I said, that's a 10 megawatt aggregate load for consideration under that, but those contracts are 20-year contracts. Now, people say, well, wait a second, what is the price? When you're going at industrial type of concept configuration, 100 megawatts versus a typical just 1 megawatt solar type panel, you might get it because you're getting it in a commercial. It's like when you go to Sam's or you go to Costco, you're buying mass supply, you're going to get it at a reduced cost. Same concept that we go out with when we go in for these RPAs and executing these types of agreements. Now, in those, we're also, not only is the price a little bit less than what it would be for, not a little bit less, significantly less than what it would be for the installed potential house, but you're also getting it for a 20-year term where they're going to make sure the efficiency of it is maintained within a certain time period. It won't be deficient, but maybe only 1% across that time period. And it's a locked-in price, is what we've done in these recent two. Locked-in price with, as many of y'all are seeing, and you've seen the news where fuel costs are going up or coming down, and the impacts associated that, you can't predict that for the next 20 years. Well, if you can say on your portfolio, my energy bill for this X amount of megawatts is at this fixed price for the next 25 years or 20 years, whatever the contract be, you know what it's going to be. You have now the forecast associated to it. So there's the benefit when it comes to option 3. Next slide. I'm going to avoid the EV hosting portion as well. If any people, y'all do have questions on that, this is separate programs that we offer within the footprint of us, where we will help you do installs of hosting stations at your site. We'll even maintain those going forward. The programs we offer are also written within.
I've learned a little bit about public speaking, and some of the stuff you're supposed to do is you're supposed to warm your audience up, right? You tell a joke, or you do something like that. Or way back once upon a time, I was asked to teach a class or a portion of a class, and I went to a professor, and the professor said, or who had taught me the electricity, and I asked him, I wanted his summary, I wanted his notes, and he said, nah. Then he said 2 things. One is wear a tie and don't sit down. And you can notice today that I'm sitting down and I'm not wearing a tie. So, but there's a reason for that. Next is I'm from Salyersville. I don't sell electricity. I don't sell gas. I buy from not these guys, but similar guys. And so I'm sitting here trying to think about why is it that I'm on this panel. Well, another sort of a joke, but it's really true, is that when I was asked here to come, and other folks have heard, a couple of other folks have heard my story, so I'm trusting them that they think my story is good enough for you all. But I said, you know, I don't perform very well in the morning. I'm old, I just don't like to get up that early. And so that's why I'm at the 1:30 slot, because, you know, if you want me to perform, then give me it in the afternoon anyway. So, but I am glad to be here. I'm from Salyersville. If you don't know where Salyersville is, it's just about 100 miles up the road at the end of the Mountain Parkway. In Salyersville, we have a population of about 2,000 people. In the county itself, McGoffin County, it's less than 13,000. And several of us do a lot of different things. And so if you hear me running a promotion on you, it's because I'm also on the Tourism Commission. So, all right. So my story is really about how to take advantage of what's being offered here today. And to do that, here's my book, by the way. This is the other thing I learned about speaking, right? What you're supposed to say is, this is what I'm going to tell you, and then you tell them, and then at the end you say, this is what I just told you. So what I'm going to tell you is how to get, let me think. I don't use Kentucky Power, or I don't use KU, and I don't use, well, we purchase from a co-op who purchases from East Kentucky. But our biggest supplier is neither one of these guys, so I can talk about them and hopefully not offend them. But we purchase from Kentucky Power. Kentucky Power, Kentucky Power is going to help us purchase and do about $600,000 worth of projects. Now, why would Kentucky Power do that? Well, it's not, I don't think it's because they really want to, but it's because we ain't going to pay them the money that they're going to be charged, they want to charge us. Let me show this to you. About a year ago, when we started running these numbers, and I'm a customer of Mountain Association, so not necessarily Rachel, but a couple of her cohorts, and I had put some of this together. But about 6 months ago or so, our utility, our electric bill, if you will, was averaging about $17,000 a month. What we have is a water treatment plant. We have pumps in the river to bring the water out of the river. We have a sewer plant. And I know Rachel says that she's big on energy conservation, and that's one of the first places we started to look. But the fact is that we're running our pumps about 22 hours a day, and there's not much room to figure out how to play with demand billing and how to shut them off to have savings and all that. And then when you've got pumps like that, looking at windows and lighting, we're doing that, but it's really pretty insignificant compared to the power that we use in our pumps. So what do? $17,000 about a year ago. In January, it was 20,000, February was 21,000, and the PR that we got was, this is a winter thing and it's gonna go down. Well, we got the bill yesterday and it's about 23,000. So everything I'm gonna tell you about this $600,000 deal I'm gonna do is based upon 17,000. So on the way down here, I'm thinking, I've got some more money to play with, and I've got some ideas beyond, if we're looking at a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan, my 10 to 20-year plan is pretty bold. Anyway, so, what happened? I didn't get into this, we didn't start doing this because we were concerned about sustainable energy or about clean energy. Quite honestly, we were concerned about sustainability, but it was sustainability of how do we pay our bills. About 10 years ago or so, when I became part of the commission, Kentucky Power, probably just 2 or 3 weeks before I got placed on the commission, Kentucky Power had given the city of Salyersville a 4-day notice of, if you don't pay our bill, you're going to be shut off. So the bill was about $70,000 at that point. So my job over the last 10 years, first as being a member of the commission and now as being the general manager, has been to make Salyersville Waterworks sustainable. Now, I'm not talking about sustainable energy, I'm talking about paying our bills, and sustainable in another way, which is when we deal with funding sources, public funding sources, we have to be able to show a positive cash flow in order to borrow money. And if you're in the public, and truly, I don't know who the audience here is today, I don't know who you all represent, whether you're individuals or whether you're communities, but for us back in Salyersville, one of our lifebloods, one of the things that really helps us as a community is to be able to access either grants, subsidized funding, low interest loans, that sort of stuff. So, and all of the funding sources have to legitimately, when they loan you money, they want to know that you can pay it back. And the bondholders, that's reasonable and legitimate. So sustainable to me means not only being able to pay our bills, but to be able to show a bottom line that says we're improving and that we can carry this debt. Now, one of the ways to carry that debt and to grow our system and improve our system is to reduce what we pay out every day. Our budget is not quite $2 million a year, and if you run the numbers on that, we're about $150,000 a month that we have generated revenue coming in, not nearly as big as these guys. But out of that $150,000, about $65,000 of it is payroll. Leaves us, what, $85,000, something like that. $23,000 of that is our power bill, so that's our next biggest place. It's hard to save money with payroll. You gotta have the people. So where's the next place to do it is with our power bill. We can't reduce our power bill because, well, there's 2 reasons. One is the price keeps going up, but the secondly is because we're running our pumps all the time. We can't shut them down. Can't shut them down because people depend on water and rightfully so. You get my gist, right? Mm-hmm. So, and I even didn't call it Mountain Association in the beginning to try to be concerned about energy. What happened is that vendors, and I'm sure Erich is aware of some of these vendors, but because we got pumps that kept going around and said, we're going to throttle your pump, we're going to give you a savings program, we're going to guarantee that we reduce your bill, and it all sounded to me like they were hustling us for money for a product that they wouldn't be able to deliver on. I don't know that to be true, but that's what it felt like. And so I wanted to find out from an unbiased source if that was possible. The power company, when they looked at our rates, they said, no, you really don't have a demand. Your demand is such that you're not going to get any benefits on demand rate. It gets complicated, and that's where I suggest you find somebody. We found Mountain Association, but other folks, Derek probably knows exactly what I'm talking about. Anyway, so the next thing happened was that, believe it or not, I saw a news piece that said the IGA in Salyersville is putting solar panels on their roof. And believe it or not, it's sort of aggravating me. It sort of pissed me off because I wanted to be the first one to do it. So, I was sort of surprised. But anyway, we called a mountain association, and I'm giving them a plug because they've been good people and good to us. And they come up, and we initially were just looking at energy savings, reduce the lighting and reduce this. And then we started looking at really how could we do it with solar panels. And then all of a sudden, we've got a project of about $300,000 that can be paid off by savings on the electric bill itself at our sewer plant, just one of 10 accounts. One of 10 accounts, our sewer bill, our electric bill at the sewer plant is about $10,000 a month. So we could take that $10,000 a month, some savings, not 100%. We're still on the grid. We're still going to be on the grid. Well, what we produce is going to be consumed locally because we've got a lot of usage there. We're not going to pump it back out to anybody else, but we're just going to reduce the amount that we have to purchase. That reduction in amount, according to our numbers at this point, or 6 months ago, it would take us about 12 years if we didn't subsidize the cost, meaning if we didn't get a grant. If we had to pay for it straight out of loan, it would take about 12 years. I'm told it's 25 years that the useful life of the panels is about 25 years. So, I'm thinking, oh, great, that gives me 13 years of savings. Then I go shopping for funding, and I'm a public utility, a governmental entity, basically. And so I go to the public funding sources. In one of my prior lifetimes, I spent a lot of time doing public funding, water and sewer projects in eastern Kentucky. And I knew there was a major, if you're in this business, there's a major set of funders. They're all alphabet, like RDA, KIA, you keep going down the list. All those folks. Well, 2 or 3 years ago, they weren't really interested in doing solar or energy projects. I did find one, by the way. I'm pretty good on the phone, so I finally found a fund source that's traditional fund source, RDA, believe it or not. RDA, which is Rural Development Administration, will loan us money at about 5%, and because Salyersville is somewhat poor, we've got a lower income per capita than other places, we can get some grant off of that, probably about 30%. So we can borrow money 5%, get 30%. The reason I didn't do slides is because I don't want you all to write this down as gospel, because, I don't want you to say Dave Gardner said you could do this and write it down. Or anyway, so I can take that loan, but here's what I found out is RDA doesn't want to do, they don't want to do anything under $500,000. And for the solar panels, I don't need $500,000. I need, well, again, these are 6-month-old numbers, and they fluctuate now, but at the end it's about $300,000 to do the project. So RDA doesn't want to do anything less. So I'm thinking, how can I get RDA money? Because it's really good money. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, why do we got 13 years here within this payback, right? We're going to borrow the money over 25 years because that's a useful life. We're going to pay it back. The panels are going to pay it back in 12 years without the grant. So maybe 10 years on the payback. Then I've got 15 years of debt service that the power company's going to help me pay because I'm not giving them the money. And I'm going to take that $15,000 over that 15 years, which is roughly $300,000 again, and do what Rachel says, which is go back and look at energy savings, how we do that. Now, during all of this, I learned a little bit more. So talking to vendors, and here's the other trick I've learned is you got to talk to people, but I'm talking to vendors, and all of a sudden vendors are saying, well, you've got blowers down there at the sewer plant. Instead of shutting them off, why don't we just slow them down? I'm thinking, you can do that? And he said, yeah, we can do that. We've got, our sewage has to go out into the river at a particular oxygen level. And the blowers are in there to make sure that we get that oxygen level up. But the thing is that sometimes we get it more than it needs to be based upon our permit. So what we can do is, this is stuff that's way beyond me, Derek's going to help me later, But we can put a real-time meter out into the water. We can measure real-time the DO, dissolved oxygen. We can run that to a logic circuit. It's a programmable logic circuit, I think is what it's called. That logic circuit can tell our blowers to slow down, and boom, we've got an energy savings. All of this is possible now. I think the reason that we're doing it, and that Rachel invited me, and I was recommended, is because here's the cynical nature that's coming out. And this is the only time it's going to happen to y'all today, believe me or not, is that I think what they figured out is that if Salyersville can do this, then you all certainly can be able to do it. And so I've got a lot more I could say, but I've had a time of running up here, and I'm over time right now. But here's my finish, right? You know, I said, I told you in the beginning what I was going to tell you. I told you how we're going to do it. Now I'm going to tell you at the end what I just said. I'm going to add one thing to it. So what I just said is I'm going to tell you how to take, how you're going to get your utility company to pay for your energy project. And I'm going to get Kentucky Power indirectly to pay for a $600,000 project. That's what I told you. The other part I'm going to tell you is we really would like for you all to come to Salyersville. We've got a lot of other stuff going on. We've got trees going on. We've got projects in downtown. It's amazing. And it's going to be easier. The Mountain Parkway is soon to be 4-lane. Y'all don't even have to get on 2-lane roads. All you got to do is go out here in front. Let me think, there's however many lights are on Broadway. Then once you're there, we got 2, 3, 4, well now we got about 5 lights in Salyersville, so. Anyway, that's all I got to say. Thank you.